Hey guys, it's Tammy with Wisteria Art by Tammy. I hope you're doing well tonight. It is Thursday night, 8 p.m. Well, actually, I'm a little bit late, but that's okay. I hope you're doing well. I hope that insanity's not setting in with all the home time you're having. Maybe with children, maybe with grandchildren, maybe with yourself. Either one of them can test your patience, can it? But anyways, welcome. And tonight we're going to do something just a little bit different. Instead of working directly in our journals tonight, we're going to do a piece that we're going to incorporate into our journal in the weeks to come. So I hope as you've been following me, you've known that I have been working some on watercolor. And so even though y'all know that I do not profess at all about being an expert by any stretch of the imagination, bumps along the road and all, we're going to do some watercolor tonight, and just something simple and fun. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to get started, and I don't have my pad with me tonight for me to follow comments, so I'll pop back up onto the screen after I turn you up and see if I can answer any questions if there are any, but we'll go on ahead and get started, okay? So I'm going to turn you down to my workstation. Since I don't have my tablet with me, I'm hoping that that's a pretty fair view for y'all. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my piece of watercolor paper here, just a little 8x8 or 6x6. It's a 8x8 watercolor paper. Now, most papers are going to buckle if you add too much water to them. Watercolor paper is made to be durable, but oftentimes if you get the more inexpensive watercolor papers, they can still buckle a little bit on you. And I found that out to be the case the first couple of times that I did my trials with it. So I'll show you a little trick that I learned, a couple little tricks that I've learned to keep some of the buckling of the paper lessened than what it normally would be. So what I'm going to do is just going to sprinkle my surface just slightly, ever so slightly, and go ahead and lay my paper down. And then I'm going to tape my edges. I can start my tape. And I'm just using frog tape, but you can go to the Dollar Tree or any dollar store and buy any tape that is painter's tape will work just as well. And you want to try to get your tape as straight as you possibly can, because it's going to make a nice little frame for your piece. Start it down here. After you peel it off. So it kind of serves two purposes. Don't quite want it that wide. Let's see here. And then you also want to make sure that you burnish that down really, really well. I need to clean my mat off because I've been resining on it this week and using my acrylics on it this week, and it's just kind of taken a beating. So I'm burnishing it down. And I've been doing a little bit of painting with my watercolors, so my mat everywhere is a little bit damp. Here where my water bottles are. And make sure this sticks. And so just burnish it down real well. Don't be careful now. You don't want to rip your tape because that will defeat the purpose. I got a little bit of a crooked side over here, but that's okay. All right. So what I have are my watercolors are from Grumbacher. Let's see if I can put them in the screen here. And you can get, it's a 20, they have pans of 24, as you can see down here. There's a top pan and a bottom pan. Cool colors and warm colors. And they're a nice set. They're kind of a medium grade set of watercolors. The richness of them are pretty well. And for me, it's a great starter set. So they are opaque colors as well. And they come with a white gouache as well. And for right now, I won't get into all of that, but I will tell you that in watercolor, there is no white. And most of y'all, if any of y'all here or have ever done watercolors, you've heard this before. You're probably even better at watercolors than I am. But I just wanted to do something different tonight, something fun, and kind of out of my norm. All right, so I'm going to be starting with a number 6 round. In a round brush, you'll notice that those points in a watercolor brush come to a really fine chiseled point. And that's the difference between an acrylic brush and an oil brush and a watercolor brush. So I'll be using my number 6 mostly, but I also have a number 4. This actually came in my watercolor set, and I'm not really the best fan of it. But I also have a liner brush that I'm going to use as well. This is a number 2 liner. Okay. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is, the first thing I generally do is just water down the colors that I know I'm going to need or could potentially need. And in most paint situations, you're going to want warm and cool colors. So go with the ones that you feel like you're more than likely going to need. And so as you come on, please tell me hello, where you're from, so that I can go back later on and say hello to you as well. And it always helps my numbers when I get comments as well. And it helps others to find me on their feeds tonight while I'm live. All right, so we have 2 jars of water. One is my dirty water, one is my clean water, and we have dab towels. All right, so I'm going to start with a light, it's almost like a periwinkle blue. And we're just going to do some really loose, very loose petals. And we don't want our petals to touch one another. We want them to have some different distance between them. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to lift off a little bit of that with a clean brush. I have no paint on my brush other than what I'm lifting. Okay, now I'll do my next couple. Load some more of my paints up here. And I'll lay down my next few. Now, the closer your petals get to you, the smaller they should be. Because you got to think about the way you're looking at them. Okay, and then we're going to do the same, and we're going to try to lift with a clean brush. And these will dry really, really light. You usually want to lay down your lightest colors first. Okay. And then I'll do one more petal here. Just a very short loose one here. Okay. And we're going to let that one dry. But I'm going to lift some of this up again like I've done the others. All right. We'll let that one dry. All right. So far, so good. I'm just going to add some more to my palette up here. And we'll do a few more. We might do a couple of loose little buds back here in the background. Whoops. I really got happy with that one, didn't I? We'll just have to make that one into a flower, won't we? Try to hold your brush back at the end of your handle so that you stay loose. You don't want to okay. Again, leaving distance between your petals. Clean that brush, dab, and pull off some of that water and paint, dab in between. This is probably the one step that's given me the most problem because you don't generally have to do that with acrylics. Okay. Back again. Sorry, my hand is in the way. I know that that's a issue. And see how some of mine went over to the next petal over. Well, as much as we try to stay away from that, we might be able to fix that later because we'll put another row of petals on our flowers as well. Okay. Now we're going to just kind of fan that over. Keep your space. Dab, dab, dab that on. And then we'll try to go back and swoop off. Okay. Hey, Mary. Hey, Helen. Yeah, we just got I gave I think my granddaughter last year a set of watercolors and watercolor paper and all of that, and I didn't even know how to use watercolor myself. It had always intimidated me, so I always stuck with my acrylics, and I guess we all have something we're intimidated by, don't we? But you just kind of have to feel the fear and do it anyways. I know we've all heard that terminology and before, and I meant to go back and dab these, but forgot, so I'm just going to try to loosen up some of that now. And it's easy to do because it was a little bit thicker. And so it wasn't dry yet. Once they're dry, it's very, very difficult to move. I forgot to turn off my notifications, so you might be hearing some bleeping and blinging. And I'm just going to lay down some indications of flowers way in the background here. And we want those to be as light as we possibly can. Just don't need to. Okay. I'm going to lay in some more of my blue. And you can use any colors you want to. You certainly don't have to use blue. But this color reminded me of Morning Glories for some reason. Again, I'm going to hold that brush back on the handle. I'm just going to make those loose. Don't have to be a perfect shape. You're not looking for just something that's that resembles somewhat of a flower. That if you saw it, your brain might think, oh, there's a flower. We're not. They come out better, actually, in my opinion. I like the loose, more abstract look when it comes to watercolor. That's just me. Probably because I'm not that great at it yet. Oh, but that's okay. I'm getting better every time I try. And I've let that go into my other petal again. But we have another layer of petals to go on this. Let's see if I can scrub it off, maybe. Pull some of it off. Now, just so that you know, you can go on and lift up some paints if you need to. If you're not too late, if you haven't let them dry, by just adding water and dabbing. Okay. All right. And so our flowers are just getting a little bit bigger as they come to the front of the page, and a little bit smaller as they come, the petals come towards you. Smaller meaning not as deep. Well, that's okay, Mary. I'm just working on some watercolor. I'm new at it, so I am taking a risk by getting up here and showing y'all how to do watercolor. Watercolor has never been my thing, but a lot of the girls that I'm friends with are watercolorists, and I've been quite envious of their work, and I'll never be able to compare to what they do, but I have had a lot of fun with it though. And it always dries much lighter than what you lay it down. And that's okay. It's kind of what you want anyways. Okay. We kind of had a surge of pollen around here today. It rained all day long yesterday, and so the pollen count was back up today, and my husband and I took an allergy pill, so I'm feeling a lot better. But my husband's in there sneezing. I'm kind of glad for the pollen. I'll take the pollen just to see the springtime. I hate to say that because I know a lot of people are real allergy sufferers, but okay. All right, we're going to let those dry for a minute. And I think I'm going to spray my palette here. What's on my palette already here, and just lay down a little bit of faint leaves in the background. And way off in the back, you just want to kind of I'm going to add just a tad of blue into that. I think I might have added a little bit more than a tad there. But I'm going to pick up some more of this and we can add it to it. Maybe a little bit of that in there. And tone it down some. Just basically barely touching the canvas here. Very light touch. I can keep from dropping my brush. And it's okay to go over some of the blue flowers in the very back, because remember, they are just abstract ideas of a flower. Can't really tell you what kind of a flower this is because I don't know, but it does remind me of a morning glory. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start working on some border here. I hope this turns out because I didn't practice this. I'm just gonna go for it. Why not? How about it? Let's see if we can loosen some of that up here with my, just laying in just some very abstract almost until my brush goes dry. I'm just grabbing up some different shades of green. Just lay down some of this bluer. Okay, let's go back to our blue flowers. Well, I'll go to this one first because this one's wet again. And we're going to lay in some inner petals, making sure that we're careful. And I'm going to pick some of that up. Okay. And the next one. Kind of trying to keep with how the outside and the direction the flower is laying towards you. All right. And we're going to dab and touch and pull some of that up. All right, now I'm going to, while that's still damp, I'm just going to take a little bit of my purple on the tip of my brush and I'm going to hit that center. And I might go one more time with that. There we go. And grab some of my blue here. Okay. Yeah, this one was still a little bit wet. So I'm going to go ahead and pick some of that back up again. Okay. And pull some of it up. I hope that y'all can see how that's coming up. This particular flower was still a little bit wet. With these types of flowers, when you're laying petals on top of petals, you want to do wet on dry and not wet on wet, meaning you want your bottom layer to be down dry and then put your other one on. So let's see, it's still wet. All right, we'll go over here and still let that dry a little bit. And we'll work on this one. This one should be dry. That's light enough where I'm going to let that color stay. My paper does want to warp for some reason. I must have still had it pretty wet enough when I pulled my last paper up, which was just before I came on. Try to keep those edges rounded. Okay. And that one's kind of got a weird edge, but it'll be all right. I told everybody, I had a disclaimer before I started that I'm not much of a watercolor. But that's okay. I'm happy with my progress anyways. Okay. I'm just going to pull some of these up. Leaving more of the color towards the inside of these petals because that's usually where it's darkest. All right. I should have probably made that one this. See if I can fix it. We shall see. The buckle, it's not probably going to happen. All right, now go back to this top one and put in my last petal here. That paper towel's getting wet. Okay. I'll grab a little bit of my purple and I'll add this to my center here. I need to wet it again. And it kind of takes off into the wet pattern, which is kind of fun. And I'll tap here. And since that's wet, it'll spread pretty well. Hopefully y'all can see that really well. back to my leaves. And just kind of lay in some more all around my blue florals. And put in some of that yellow leaf as well. If your color's dry on your palette, just re-wet them. It'll be fine. Just being very loose. Staying away from the blue, giving it a border, but being very abstract. Ooh, that's bright. We gotta do something with that. Bring that down some. That's too bright. You can just lift that right up, which is wonderful. Pick up some of this green down here. Maybe that'll help. Okay. And we're just going to add some darker as we get, as the other has dried, on top of the dried, as we move on to our next phase. And you're just turning your brush this way and that way. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. More to that yellow. And see what we can make. Okay. Let's see if we can darken these just a little bit more. I'm going to darken these really light ones in the corner here. Okay. And just let those dry. All right, now I'm going to get some of my brown and some of my gold and black and burnt sienna. And I'm going to begin by starting a little area right here. Add some brown to my palette. Now I'm just going to do some wispy motions over here in my corner with various colors. Add a little black to my brown. To make it a bit darker here in my center. Okay. Now I'm going to take some of my gold and add it next to my brown. And just pick up just a little bit of that and push it around in my hidden areas here. Get some of that and mix it in with my brown. And we're just playing. And we're just playing. Pick up a little more black. And we're just gonna be very loose here. We're not gonna try to this is nature, right? And we're picking up some of that brown as we move our brush around, and that works perfectly. Now I'm going to get back and pick up just some full brown and do the same. Okay, more full brown. Okay, I'm going to try just a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to mix that in with my gold and my brown here on my palette. And not to get that too, I don't want to get that too red, but just to kind of give it a different. You don't want to work that too much because it'll just start turning into one. I'm going to lift some of this up, and then I'm going to try to lay this back over here in this corner. Okay. Some brown. Brown. Would you turn that light off in the kitchen when you're done, please?
What?
Would you please turn the light off in the kitchen when you're done? Thank you. I'm live. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to grab some more of that burnt sienna brown mixture with a little extra gold blended in there. You can pull in some of your green to this if you'd like to as well, and it would work just perfectly. Okay. Let's see what they're saying here so I can catch up. Will you be posting your finished product? I'm going to try to, yes. Yep, that's fine, Mary. Good night. I'll try to post that. Sure will. No.
You can get the light off?
Yes, please. Turn the light off in the kitchen.
What?
Because I'm live right now.
It said you were finished.
Okay. I'm just tapping that in. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go back to my blue. And I think I'm going to pick up some of the darker blue and blend it more with this periwinkle. Let's try that again. Blue. And just add some little loose. Since this is darker, I'm hoping that it'll cover some of this green. Let's see, what color do I want to get? This one? Yeah. And then we'll mix it. This phthalo blue can be very strong, so be very careful when you mix it. Yeah, that'll cover. Okay. So while you're letting one part of your painting dry, you just move on to another section. When you're painting wet on dry. So with acrylics, we do have some leeway with that. But with watercolors, we've got to be a little bit more careful. It's just easier to get muddier quicker. So what we're trying to do here is just make a deeper green, darker, I should say, and to bring our front florals closer to us and bring the lighter towards the back. And so we're this certainly isn't professional looking, but it's pretty good for me for watercolors. Try to get some of these. And as we get closer to our nest here, we're going to make our leaves darker. Try not to get close to our flower. Right, while our bottom flower here is still wet, and we'll just add a little bit of our purple. All right, now I'm gonna need some of our aqua. I'm gonna wipe my tray out so I'll have a place to put it. All right, let's see here. A little extra rain here for my, since it wasn't totally dry. I don't like that one. Okay. And we'll let that dry. I'm going to wet enough now. I'm going to take and let it dry a little bit. Okay. I'm just going to take some of this green and lightly go around areas here, because we do see that in nature. And here. Now let's see. And I'm just going to try to draw some vine. Just maybe do some curly cues. Which aren't as easy to do with watercolor. I'm finding out. But it's still fun. Let's pick up some of our green here again. And our brown. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Our brown. Like that. Make our pretty green again. And just keep making those curly cues off of your Okay, I think we're almost there. But I'm thinking I'm gonna take this one, try to lighten up some of this edge a little bit. I had my gouache, I think I would add some, but I think what I might do is just add a little bit of speckles. Let's see what we'll get. Ooh, yeah. We really got some speckle there, didn't we? Big speckled eggs. Doesn't want to give me any now. Okay. All right. Line this dark again. Straighten that up. That egg got a little bit darker than what I wanted it to. I think it's still wet enough where I might be able to lift it up and go back and work on it some more. Maybe I'll let this one dry completely and then go in and work on the other one. And that's the woes of watercolor. You just can't get anything close to anything else. Let's see. I got a spot right here that the paper has buckled just slightly, and so that's where it wants to run to. I'm going to try to hide it in that pocket of the nest there. I think that turned out okay. All right. I got a little carried away with the vine. The flower here is a little large. Next time I know to keep them a little bit smaller and a little bit more abstract. Let me see if y'all have any questions. Don't know if y'all... Alright guys, I think that's going to call it a night for me. Once this is dry, I'll post it, and I'm going to call it a night. And we'll see where this leads us in our future. And anyways, I hope you have a good night, and blessings throughout the week and weekend. Stay safe and healthy. God bless. Take care.